Welcome to the BriteVibe podcast. At BriteVibe, we believe everyone deserves to be happy. But in today's world, everywhere you turn, there is division and negativity. At BriteVibe, we have created a global movement to bring 8 million people together who are inspired to live bright, live bold, and share bright vibes. Alone, it can be hard to change, but together we can change the world. Welcome to the BriteVibe podcast. So Michael Balchan, welcome to the show today. So happy to have you on. So excited to talk to you. You've got some great stuff. So yeah, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks so much, Matt. Grateful to be here. Fired up for it.
Yes. So tell us, so I think I read as I was doing kind of research for today that you'd use the term like optimization coach, I think at one point. Is that a term that you'd use to describe what you do?
Optimization coach. I don't know that I've used that term explicitly, but it covers the gamut. So optimize to make something as best as it possibly can be across all spectrums of our life, right? And each of us have so many different things that are important to us. We actually encourage folks to simplify. Like, you don't need a million different roles and goals and categories of improvement. I want to be a good this. Just pick 3: energy, work, and love. How can you show up at your optimist best, right? Yep. Optimize literally comes from the Latin word for best, the best. How can you show up at your best in your energy, in your work, and in your love?
I love it. I'm writing it down right now. Energy, work, and love. Okay, good. Because sometimes with the BriteVibe group community, we're always looking at these different areas of life, but I like how you've simplified it: work, energy, and love. That kind of gets right to the thing. And by work, you also put like your passion, your purpose type thing in work. If you're retired, if somebody's retired, and they're not like work, is it more like what's your purpose here, or what do you intend to do with your life?
Yep. I tend to think of work as creative contribution to the world.
Okay. I like that.
So it could be through a standard kind of job, profession kind of deal. It could be my work is to be a great father or a great mother and be the best, or a great grandmother, grandfather, patriarch, matriarch, whatever it could be. How do you want to contribute to the world in a positive way?
Okay, that's awesome. And so you're the head coach and chief of staff, it says, for Heroic. Now, what is Heroic exactly?
So Heroic is what we hope to be our go-to resource for helping you be more energized, productive, and connected. Energy, work, love. Be more energized, be more productive, be more connected. We offer a couple of different things, one of which is a collection of big ideas from the world's best books. So my teacher, mentor, founder of Heroic, Brian Johnson, spent something like more than 2 decades almost literally in a hermitage, like a whole just reading and writing and teaching. And he took over 650 of the world's best books and broke them down into 6-page PDFs and 20-minute MP3s. When I was first starting my own professional journey, I was a derivatives trader. In finance, had a headset, talked to a guy on like the COMEX floor in New York. I'm in Chicago. I was trading the screens upstairs. But I started getting into personal development, and I thought, this is going to take me so long to learn all the things. I want literally a lifetime to study all the different science and all the different, ancient wisdom traditions and religions and all these different life philosophies that contribute to how can I enjoy life? How can I live a meaningful life? How can I have a good sense of being alive? Now, this is going to take forever. And then I found Brian. I realized, oh my goodness, this is amazing. It'll only take me 2 to 3 years. I just have to read the stuff that he has put out. Right. And so we've got those philosophers' notes. We've got plus ones, which are 2 to 3 minute kind of daily short form video content with a single big idea. And then 101 classes on over 50 subjects: productivity, purpose, leadership, energy, conquering procrastination, conquering depression, etc. This used to be $100 a year, $250 lifetime. We bought it, and now we're giving it away for free. So like that's part of what we awesome. Want to help you get the ideas that you can use to change your life. And then more importantly, we want to help you move from theory to practice to mastery. So how do we take those things we know that we could be doing and actually do them on a consistent basis? And Matt, we were chatting a little bit before about what would be really awesome. Like, what's a win? If we could just communicate a couple ideas? Yeah. This one might be the number one thing. Okay. We all know what we could be doing and what we want to be doing less of. The challenge is not learning more stuff. The challenge is actually doing those things that we know to be best for us. How can we do that? Never being perfect, but making commitment every single day to this is how I want to show up. This is what I want to do. Striving to, in that moment we face that choice. Do I go to the gym or do I watch another Netflix episode? Or my daughter just ran in here and she offered a bid for my attention. Do I respond to her? Do I keep reading the email? We all have these choices that we face throughout the day. Can we actually choose in that moment to make the choice that we know is in alignment with how we want to be showing up? So we built a training platform. It's an app that helps people to do this, helps people move from theory to practice to mastery, take those ideas that we know we could be doing and actually live them in our lives such that we can be the best versions of ourselves, the best, most heroic versions of ourselves day in and day out.
Well, that's cool. And then, so I've got a couple questions about your background, if you're open to that. So one, I need to know what the heck a behavioral economist is. Is that how money performs? I was like, I saw that on your bio. I was like, behavioral economist. It's like,
yeah. So
are you a counselor?
Economics is yeah. Behavioral economics. So economics is a really interesting field, right? They kind of take common sense and put math to it.
Okay.
Supply and demand, lots of curves. How do we explain the relationship between people? And at the heart of economics is, it's like homo economicus or something like that, but basically like a rational decision maker.
Okay.
We are all hyper rational. We make decisions purely based on pros and cons and trade-offs. And like, we are just these like basically computers. That is the model for economics. And that is like the heart of what drives the math behind economic models. Turns out none of us are actually completely rational decision makers. No. We are all so driven by emotion. We have so many different biases. So Kahneman and Tversky were early on and like, hey guys, we don't actually do this. Behavioral economics is, okay, let's bring in those actual behaviors of how we show up and update our models, think about our models in the context of someone who's not hyper rational, but who's an actual human being with emotions, who are more prone to exaggerate small percentages, who are more prone to the way that the question is framed.
Right.
It's bringing in psychology into economics.
Right. And so, and I was, as you were saying, everyone's rational. I'm like, no, I don't know anyone that's really focused on it. Because it's all emotion, right? It's all based on our past programming, stories, the way we grew up. I mean, it's, I've been around, sales, marketing, business my whole life. And it's like people, it's always an emotional decision. I don't care how rational they think they're being. Ultimately, they're doing it for some feeling, right? I think we all do that as feeling creatures, as emotional creatures. Every decision we're making is leading us to an outcome, a feeling that we think we want. Now, whether, like your example of like watching Netflix or doing, engaging with a human being, we're looking for something, whether it's an escape or safety or in the Netflix, right? And the human being, there might be risk, or there might be, they could let me down, or I could say the wrong, there could be emotional pain. So I'm going to go over here and hide. Is that, I don't even know where I'm going with that, but
no. So it's exactly right. And they have, so the word emote and the word move have the same root, like motive, the same base part of the word. It is our literal emotions that drive our decisions, that get us into action, actually make us do things. If you take somebody and you perform surgery on part of their brain where you split their emotional center from their decision-making center, they don't make any decisions at all, because without being able to tap into that emotional part of our brain, we are incapable of making decisions. So our emotions are the basis of all the decisions that we're making. And when we're facing that choice of, do I watch another Netflix episode or do I go to the gym? There's a lot of emotions that are present in that moment that are forecasting forward about how do I want to feel in the future, that are also the weight of our past. So we kind of bring all of our previous experiences around a certain decision, and our brain's like, well, do I want to do this thing? Last time I did it, that was awesome. The time before I did that, it was awesome. And the time before I did that, it was awesome. It was with all my friends. That must be a pretty awesome thing. So our brain is running this calculus and bringing a whole bunch of factors into the foreplay that we're not always aware of, that aren't always homo economicus, or like purely rational. It's all jumbled and biased, and it can be challenging to. Netflix doesn't even, the thing counts down for you. If you make no decision,
right,
then you've made a decision because the next, it's like playing.
In fact, we've got the co-founder of Netflix and the past CEO coming on in a couple of weeks. So I'm going to ask him about kind of some of how they program that. And why does it autoplay? It's like, I don't want to autoplay the next thing. I just want to watch the end of this thing, right? I want to listen to the music and I want to have it stop. Thank you for listening to the BriteVibe podcast today. We've got a special event coming up here shortly, July 12th through the 16th, called the Global Happiness Summit. And we're bringing resources from around the country together to talk about happiness and what that means and how to have more of that in our lives. Go to BriteVibe.com, B-R-I-T-E, Vibe, V-I-B-E.com for more information about the Global Happiness Summit. And we look forward to seeing you July 12th through the 16th.
I'll trying to keep this relatively short, and I know I have a tendency to go off, but technology is amazing. The technology that we use is amazing. Mm-hmm. Social platforms are amazing. We are a technology company. We are building a social platform. It's not that these technologies are inherently bad. It's what do we want to use them for?
Right.
Sales is also like not a bad, like people tend to think of sales as this like icky process. And we feel icky because so many times the person on the other side knows the levers that they have to pull to get us to make the sale. And even if it's actually in our interest and we want to do it, we don't like having our levers pulled. We don't like the countdown timers and the only get it now and the make me feel bad about myself and then sell the solution. Right. There's a certain ickiness where we know that our levers are being pulled. So we strive to, as a business, not pull those levers, operate in a way that we would hope other people want to operate, like they would see us and say, that's how I'd want to do business, and use these technologies for good, because the negatives come from the unintended catastrophic consequences of the attention economy. Facebook, Instagram, insert social media company, etc. What they're actually mining and selling is attention. Right. Our attention is our most valuable commodity in the modern day and age. And if they know what gets our attention, and it's again, this is not new information, it's the more polarizing content. Right, it's the content that hits our emotional triggers. That's going to get us to stay in more. It's why there's the cliffhanger at the end of the show, because there's an open loop and our brain wants to close that loop. And so I've got to watch another episode. Right. My wife and I love This Is Us. We had to stop an episode, literally there's probably 20 minutes left in the episode. And we'll do this sometimes if it's we were in bed early, 9 o'clock, eyes out, in bed last night, 8:40. We're watching the episode. She's like, we got to turn it off. I'm not watching more. I was like, I know I agreed to this, but I don't want to. Because
you have this open loop till the next day.
Yeah. But so we can use these technologies in a good way. We just have to be really clear about what's the purpose. And if we're giving the algorithm, hey, mine for attention, because what we want is attention, then these things pop up that are using it in a suboptimal way. So no, I said a ton there, but emotions are huge. Our brains are brilliant mechanisms. And I think we're capable of a lot more than we think we are.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, and science has proven that we're only using a fraction of our brains and a fraction of our talent, right? And a capacity to learn and grow. It was reminding me of the story, that Tom Hanks movie about Mr. Rogers, and kind of, I thought it was interesting just to kind of show not the darker side of Mr. Rogers, but that he was a human being and had emotion and struggled with things as well. But I liked the thing, and I don't know if it was in the movie or if I looked it up later and was reading about it. But, he originally came home from college, saw the first TV he had ever seen in his life was at his parents' home. They were fairly well affluent. And he looked at that TV and instantly knew that it had the overwhelming propensity to be bad. And so he literally made the choice that he would go on TV and only feed it and only produce good content to offset the negative content that he was watching. It's like, this is mindless drool. I need to produce something that's actually educational and positive in the world. And I think I really love that example, because I think a lot of that about social media. It's like, I remember there was a time where I just, anybody would friend me, I'd like them and blah, blah, blah. And, and I just had this feed full of garbage, right? And a lot of dissension and a lot of negative. And I finally just went, you know what? If this person says anything that I just don't, it just doesn't make me feel good, then I'm just going to, not even unfollow them, I think. Unfollow them. And so I got to the point where now my feed's really cool. Like, so on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, it's like when I look at my feed, I'm actually inspired because I'm seeing things about like ecotourism, eco housing. I'm seeing things about, how to grow food and, all the fun stuff that I like to kind of experiment with. And so I agree that you can use, social media isn't going away, social platforms, technology, none of that stuff's going away, but how do we use it for me, it's how do I use it in my own life for good versus just being triggered because, this person said this about this political candidate or the whole, obviously the masks and unmasks and vaccines and not vaccine. I mean, just all of the garbage. And at some point it's like, I'm going to make personal decisions for me. And then if I don't agree with somebody, it doesn't mean I have to hate on them. Or have to comment even. That was where I started going, this is just triggering me. This is just to get me to respond. And, once in a while I still get like somebody will post something. I'm just like, no, it's not worth my energy. It's a waste of time. It means nothing to that person. It'll only, to your point about the social media thing, it's just a hook to try to suck me back into more of it. Mm-hmm. So I said a mouthful there.
No, so let's start with Fred Rogers. We love Fred Rogers.
Yes.
And I love that you brought that up. And, his TV show was he was an ordained minister. Mm-hmm, his TV show was
that's right. Platform. Yeah.
He, one of the ways that we have incorporated Fred Rogers, among many others, he weighed 143 pounds every day of his adult life.
Oh, I remember.
He would go for a swim in the morning, get out of the pool, look at the scale and see 143.
Right.
And for him, it was a reminder, I love you. I has one letter, love has four letters, that's you has three letters.
Right.
I love you. So we are a community-owned business. We are a public benefit corporation. We want to help create a flourishing world, a world that's more energized, productive, and connected. In every single line of code that we have, page of code, it starts with 243. This beautiful like ASCII art, big 243. We love you. Mm-hmm. We love you. 2 letters, 4 letters, 3 letters. Our name, Heroic, most people think hero is like a killer of bad guys or like tough guy.
Right.
Hero is a Greek word that literally means protector.
Oh,
Heroes
nice.
have strength for 2. Their secret weapon is love. Mm-hmm. They are driven by love. Our mark, which I've got here, we've got a compass in the app. All ancient wisdom, modern science say we want to live a good life, operationalize virtue, specifically wisdom, self-mastery, courage, love, hope, gratitude, curiosity, and zest. We've got a lot of tools around the compass, but in our compass point, the direction that it's pointing to is love. Mm-hmm. So heroes come from love. They have the courage to move into the battle for love, to protect those that they care most about. And we strive to live with love in our lives, mm-hmm. but that we love you is like literally baked into the code. We have 243s all over the place, and it's inspired by Mr. Rogers. I love you, his commitment to using this technology, using this platform, right? He knew that eyeballs would be on it.
Yes.
How can we use those eyeballs and try to do it in a positive way? And we're trying to take that same approach with technology. And mm-hmm. I love your intentionality around social media, right? And when you have spent a lot of time, it can become this powerful tool. Mm-hmm. But it takes that degree of intentionality and that degree of, I know what I want to use it for. And we've tried to, in our social platform, put that front and center where you can control who gets to see your post. Is it your buddies? Is it your followers? Is it nobody? Is it just a post for you? Almost like your own personal journal.
Yeah.
Who can comment on that post? Is it nobody? Is it just your buddies? Is it your followers? So controlling a little bit of that feed, because we're not trying to mine your attention mm-hmm. to sell it. We charge the premium membership fee. It's $70 a year. It's accessible. It unlocks all these tools, including the social piece. Mm-hmm. And then we're not in the business of getting you in and keeping you in forever. We want to get you in and get you out so you can actually be a good person in your real life. The training piece, and I mentioned my life has changed since mm-hmm. starting to use this. Mm-hmm. My phone has become a tool for me to show up as that best version of myself.
Right. Yeah.
I have an algorithm. Every time I touch my phone, I open up the Heroic app first.
Right.
And what it shows me is I've made a commitment in the morning to my identities, which is who I want to be as the best version of myself in energy, in work, and love. So today it's an Ironman beast. That's my energy identity. My work identity is strong safety. I can play pass coverage. I can hit the line of scrimmage. I'll tackle all the things that need done. My love identity is 0, which is a nod to Gandhi's reduce yourself to 0, 0/infinity. So reduce yourself to 0, allow the infinite kind of power to shine through. Those are my identities. I've committed to a whole bunch of virtues, 40 in each. I am disciplined, powerful, expansive, radiant, confident, decisive, relentless, connected, enthusiastic, encouraging, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And every time I touch my phone, I see that first, and I'm reminded, oh yeah, that's how I said I wanted to show up. And then I've got my specific targets of what I'm actually going to do today, and I get to celebrate. Yep, I just crushed it. I'm going to hit the crush it target, get a little dopamine splash of I did the thing that I said I want to do.
Nice.
I showed up as the best version of myself. So this, even if I'm addicted to my phone, which I have I think we all have various levels.
Yeah, I agree. 110%. I am. I've finally
arm wrestle on addiction versus.
Yes, I'm addicted. I know.
If I'm turning that action of I'm reaching for my phone, and instead of it being then I'm opening up the platform or opening up the thing that I know can draw my attention in a different direction. But if I'm turning that addictive impulse of I'm reaching for this technology, and the end result is, and I'm reminding myself of how I want to show up, the things I want to do, what the best version of me looks like, then we're using that channel.
Right.
Technology is neutral. The television is neutral. You can choose to watch whatever else is out there, or you can choose to have your kids watch Fred Rogers. My daughter watches very, very, very little TV.
Right.
One of the first things we let her watch, Daniel Tiger. Because Fred Rogers, Daniel, I want those values. Yes. I want my daughter to see those values and be in those values and those behaviors. So using technology as a tool for good, and we can all do this. You know, we've created tools for this, but anyone can do this. Just be intentional. Have that. What do I want to use technology for? Like, if I'm not, and then we're not going to be perfect. So you mentioned like every once in a while you feel like sending that comment of, this is
right. I call BS.
Yeah. Another thing that is like kind of a big takeaway is so many of us are excited to get to a point where we no longer have to do any work. We no longer have to face any uncertainty, and we're not going to have any more pain. And we think that if we're not there yet, there must be something wrong with us. And every time we fail, it's a reminder of us not being perfect, which is kind of like fixed mindset. Carol Dweck's work on mindset, growth mindset vis-a-vis fixed mindset. And to not treat mistakes as character. Oh, I'm a bad person.
Right.
Instead of like a data point and oh wow, I just fired off a response to this person that took me an hour, that got me all sorts of fired up, that got them more fired up, that turned into a thread of just negativity. Perfect. What do I want to do next time? What can I learn from that interaction? And when we do that, we either win or we learn. We win by showing up at our best, or we learn how to not show up at our best, how we can show up at our best going forward. And since learning is winning, we win or we win, and we win all the time. And getting rid of this notion of I'm going to be perfect. Right. Every time I use something, it's going to be awesome. And moving to like, perfect. I'm going to yell at my daughter sometimes because she's not listening after I've asked her 5 times in a row. And then she's probably going to cry because she doesn't like getting yelled at. And let me figure out how to do that in a more empowering way. Or colleagues, there's lots of leaders in your community. Leaders are like, how are you treating people in your organization? How are you responding to clients or potential clients or situations? We don't need to get it perfect every time, so long as we're committed to doing a little bit better on the next time and learning, using every single opportunity as a chance to learn how to get better, how to improve going forward.
Totally, 110%. You know, I went through a year-long leadership program. There's a performance coaching firm called Stegan out of Dallas, and part of what they did was called performance journaling, and it's basically you would have to literally, they had sheets that were called performance journaling sheets, and when you felt, I like to call it, kind of fell down and skinned my knee, which means I screwed up and said something that hurt somebody's feelings or did something that was, not the way, it didn't get received the way I was hoping it got received, or it did get received the way I was hoping, and that was not appropriate. And then literally it was just kind of sitting, I kind of look at it as like, if you were a football player, you review film, you talk about plays, what's going to happen the next time. And it made me do that. It got intentional about, okay, the next time I'm with my wife and she says this, instead of getting triggered, maybe I could ask more questions, or maybe I could empathize first before I say, no, that's a stupid idea, right? I mean, because that's never going to end well. And so, yeah, I totally agree that the more we can lean into being mindful, I guess is another way I would say that, being mindful and having mindful practices, our life does transform. It does get better, but it does take effort too. It's not just, for so much of my life, I just lived in that reactive and still find, I still, like you said, we're all human. I still fall down, but lived in that kind of reactive space of just reacting to whatever comes through the day versus kind of thinking about things and saying, okay, these are the potential things that could come up today. How am I going to handle those? And am I going to do it with love? Am I going to do it with understanding or caring? Or am I just going to see what pops up, right?
Mm-hmm. Stepping into that gap, as Viktor Frankl would say, step into that gap between stimulus and response and choose a more empowered response. And that post-game process, all peak performers do this. They call it different things. I know you've got SEALs, like the SEALs called an after-action report. Peak performance would be like a post-game process. It's all the same 3 steps too. What went well? So we always want to start by celebrating the things that we did well.
Right.
Don't ask your kid, hey, how'd the soccer game go? Because you're going to be like, well, I missed the extra point, whatever, or missed the free kick. Right. Mixing sports metaphors. Like, don't ask a high level. Say, hey, what did you do really well? Because starting by that celebration is going to imprint us in the positive. And then perfect. So step 1, what went well? Step 2, what needs work?
Right.
What didn't go so well? What did I learn from that process? Step 3, what am I going to do differently going forward? How do I use this as fuel to grow going forward? And I come back to this word intention. Again, your social media use was like intentional. You had a clear goal. You know what you wanted. Science of hope, very briefly, you have a clear goal. You have a belief in your ability to accomplish that goal, and you're willing to go through as many pathways as it takes to get that.
Right.
That is literally the science of having hope, goals, agency, pathways. Have a clear goal. I want to use social media in this way. Perfect. I believe that I can. Pathways. Okay, I'm going to unfriend this person when I don't like the stuff that's showing up in my feed. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm not going to have social media at the dinner table because that detracts me from showing up to my relationships in real life. When we have that growth set mentality and we're willing to, in the moment, or shrink the distance between cycles. So we said that thing to the colleague that like they interpreted it a way that they shouldn't have, or maybe the way that we wanted them to.
But that wasn't right. Yeah.
Does it take until the next day or a week later, or a month later to say, hey, you know what? I just realized that was inappropriate. I want to try, can I try that again? Or I want to improve this going forward. If we can shrink that, and the first time, maybe it does take a month, and we realize, wow, this person hasn't been talking to me for a month. I wonder what happened. To a week, to a day, to an hour, to minutes, to moments. So like, boom, I've got an algorithm, and I use that word a couple of times now, but I've got a process that I run through. When this happens, then I do this. When I notice I've made a mistake, I've fallen short, I've upset someone, then I'm going to pause, take a breath, maybe take a sip of water, and just be willing to re-engage, right? Oh my gosh, I can't believe I think that was inappropriate. I'm really sorry. Let's try this another way. Or even say we're doing this, we're having this great conversation, and I totally say something ridiculous. I could either just pretend it didn't happen and continue forward, or like, you know what, Matt, that didn't come out quite right. Let me take that one again. And our willingness to be imperfect and acknowledge that and bring that into the process does 2 things. One, other people like you better because they're like, wow, that person has such self-awareness. They don't have such a high opinion of themselves that they're willing to embrace reality. And 2, it gives them permission to do the same thing. Where as a leader, we're not saying, I don't want you to be perfect. As a partner, I don't want my partner to be perfect. I don't want my daughter to be perfect. That's not the standard that I'm holding them to, because that is a terrible standard because no one will ever reach it. And when we're willing to acknowledge our own mistakes, it's giving other people permission to make mistakes too, and say, you know what, I still love you. I'll give you another chance. And I use my daughter a lot in kind of examples, because for me, being a parent has made all this personal development stuff really real. There's such like moldable, open, curious, just creatures, like little kids. And I will literally, with my daughter, either she will respond some way or I will respond some way that's not going down a path we want. And I'll say, hey, sweetie, I think we need can we just rewind 15 seconds? And sometimes just do weird, or spin in a circle. Or, hey, we need to reset. Let's go do burpees. She loves burpees. Like, or a dance, like a physical reset. We'll do a dance song.
Yep.
And then come back. Okay, I said this, and then you said this, and then I think this is the thing that we kind of got hung up on. Let's try it again. Let's do another take. So having that willingness to make mistakes, to be imperfect, but that commitment to our intention of showing up a little bit better, a better leader, a better partner, a better husband, father, whatever it is, just makes the whole thing so fun for everybody. And it helps us actually perform at the level that we want to, because we're willing to go through those feedback cycles, willing to go through those feedback cycles, willing to go through those feedback cycles. And the secret is not making good decisions, not being perfect, but being willing to go through as many feedback cycles as we can, as quickly as we can, because the feedback cycles make us grow. And then the final thing I'll share on that note, you mentioned athletes, right?
Yeah, of course.
We've got a lot of peak performance coaches, mental coaches for athletes that have gone through our program or have joined us in the program. And no athlete wins every game.
Right.
Like it's such a ridiculous thing to actually say, like no athlete wins it, but like no athlete wins every game. And when they lose the game, they're not like, I'm the worst athlete ever. This is terrible. It's, no, perfect. That feedback is baked into athletics. They win or they lose, and they learn from the losses.
Right.
Took John Wooden like 8 or 10 or 11 years to figure out his winning strategy. He just like lost for a long time. But then once he figured it out, he was unstoppable. He won, John Wooden, greatest coach of the 20th century, UCLA Bruins men's basketball, won like 10 out of 11 years in a row, the championship. Just nuts.
Right.
But he lost for a long time. Michael Jordan, I've missed X shots in my career, the famous Nike commercial. And these are people that we admire, right? These are often heroes in the traditional sense that we think about the word.
Sure.
And they are so far from being perfect. Not even just we don't see the rest of their lives, but they literally, no one has had a perfect, no NFL team has had a perfect season since the Dolphins, right? 72 Dolphins, like they celebrate the first loss. And yet we hold that on ourselves often of like, oh, there goes my chance of being perfect. I made a mistake. I'm not willing to just like embrace that as part of this game of life, as feedback.
And, as you were sharing that, it made me think, when I've learned from performance coaches, or at least heard them and not necessarily implemented it, was, especially with professional athletes, the faster, the shorter the feedback loop is, the quicker you can improve. So basically, for a lot of people, me included, I may get feedback from a coworker, I may get feedback from my spouse, but that may happen not even daily, right? So it may be I do something and maybe I'm doing it repetitively and nobody's really saying anything because it's like, well, that's Matt's life and he's doing that. But when it comes to like performance training, like literally they're getting feedback almost instantaneous. Like if you're, on the field and you're a quarterback, every play you make, you're getting feedback from the sideline, right? This is what we're seeing. This is what's happening. This is what, right? And so I think it is so important that we need to be more self-aware and just say, how am I showing up right now, right? Because you can certainly hire a coach, but they're not going to spend. In fact, I was going to ask if you just, with all of your members, if you just call them every day and kind of walk through some coaching with them. But we have to get to a point of coaching ourselves and just saying, is this what I want? Is what's happening in my life right now what I want? If not, then what am I going to do about it? Because it's not going to change until I make the decision to change. I actually was reading something the other day that talked about no real decisions are made till you get to the point of, or no new direction in your life can be accomplished without getting to the point of hopelessness, where you kind of give up. You kind of have to surrender to life a little bit for it to work for you. And as long as you're trying to control everything, you're kind of on your own. It's kind of like, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Newton's law of momentum, right? And so many people are, once we get caught in a path, it's hard to make a pivot because we think, I've already made this choice. And it's why if I mess something up, I want to not acknowledge it, because like, let's just keep going. That like, instead of, wait, let me pause, like, let me reset, let me make a little bit of a turn, and giving ourselves permission to do that. You mentioned feedback. So feedback cycles are huge. And I know we've been talking a little bit about almost like the negative feedback cycle. And that'd be something like, I make a mistake, I see how quickly I can catch it, turn it around, and go back the other direction.
Right.
That's huge. But notice the very important thing of, I don't beat myself up about.
Right.
Oh my gosh, I'm such an idiot. This is terrible. right? The great quarterbacks, they throw an interception. They can't be thinking about the interception when they step back on the field again, because guess what? Sure ticket way to like throw another interception, right? You want to focus on the thing that you actually want. I've got a book. It's one of my favorite behavioral training books. It's called Don't Shoot the Dog. And the Cliff Notes version is negative reinforcement very rarely works. Even when it does, no one ends up being happy. The thing that actually works is positive reinforcement.
Right.
In the animal training context, you use a clicker. You want to click the moment the animal does the behavior. Otherwise, they're not going to know.
They don't connect it.
Connect it. Have it be the moment. And then celebration. So celebration is huge. BJ Fogg's a world-leading behavioral design scientist out of Stanford. Most of the apps we use that are like really, really addicting, those people studied under him and then went out and built these apps. He thinks that celebration might be his greatest contribution and will be as powerful, if not more powerful going forward than gratitude. I know gratitude's got a lot, deservedly so. It's one of the top 3 virtues most highly correlated with well-being. Number 1 is actually zest, so your energy, and then hope and gratitude fight it out for the number 2 or 3 spot. So gratitude's huge, but celebration might be more important, particularly when we're looking at changing our behaviors.
Right.
We want to celebrate immediately and intensely the moment that we do something that we want to do more of. So you make that positive comment, give yourself a little pat on the back. Someone else does something great, your partner, your spouse that you want to see more of. Honey, thank you so much. That was awesome. You made my day. That was so good. And then guess what? They're looking for more opportunities to do that. We're the same way. So we built that into the app. That I did the target swipe thing. Part of our challenge was, how do we make positive behaviors? How do we make showing up as the best version of yourself as addicting as all the other things?
Right.
How do we make celebrating those moments of, yep, I did it again, so fun? And one of the ways we're doing it is with this target swipe thing. So I did a set of burpees before I joined. But every time you do something you say you want to do, you come in here and you
swipe it, kind
of pull back your arrow. It's a little like target thing. You let it go, boom, splash of dopamine. You see your streaks go up, etc. And I'm connecting. I said I want to do this thing, and then I did it, and now I'm going to celebrate. Right. That's like me. And my brain's going to get this dopamine hit. My brain is going to feel good as a result of me doing that thing. And then my brain is going to want to look for opportunities to feel good going forward. It's right back to the behavioral economics, the psychology. Can we celebrate when we show up and we do the things that we want to do? Because we will then look for more opportunities to do those things. We will become positively addicted to doing the behaviors that we know are best for us. Even if it's that I just said something totally inappropriate. I'm so sorry. But I can celebrate that.
Right. That
was me. I was willing to pause in the moment, or I was willing to have that difficult conversation or send that email or whatever it was. That celebration part of the feedback cycle is, if it's not completely missing from many contexts, is grossly underused in many contexts. And we want to use it in our own lives. We want to use it in our businesses. We want to use it as leaders. We want to use it with our kids, with our partner. Like, celebrate the things that we want to see more of. One of my professors, Tal Ben-Shahar, positive psychology, taught the largest course in Harvard's history. So he says the word appreciate has 2 meanings. When you appreciate something, you are grateful for it, right? So there's an appreciation in that sense. And there's also like the financial appreciation. An asset appreciates in value. And the things you appreciate. The things that you are grateful for grow in value, become more aware of them. And as we would say, the things that you celebrate, also appreciate. You're going to see more of them. You're going to have more of them in your life. It's going to grow. So celebration is huge and so important in these feedback cycles.
I love it. And that's such a fresh perspective on that as well. So certainly, thank you for that. We've got this in a couple of months in July, we're going to do the Global Happiness Summit. And for us, it's, bringing positivity into the world and focus, like you're talking about, focusing on the things that make us happy and understanding what doesn't make us happy and eliminate the thing, start to curb what doesn't make us happy and lean into what does make us happy. From your perspective, what makes the happiest people, or I guess what either practices and or psychology do happy people typically carry with them or use on an ongoing basis? What makes people happy?
So one, I love it. I love do the things that we like doing and do less of the things that we don't like doing, right?
Right. Yeah.
Before I answer your question, it just made me think, going back to your point about being intentional and knowing what we want out of life. And I love the Happiness Summit because I think so much of the world that we live in right now is a reflection of unintentional decisions.
I agree. Yep.
Right? Like no one's like, let me wave the wand and this is the world that I want to create. We just kind of go through the motions. So I'm excited for more and more people to be stepping back and thinking about, what's the macro level world that I want to live in?
Right.
On a global scale, on a country scale, on a community scale, and shrink it down to me as an individual, right? At the end of the day, I can only control myself.
Right.
Then maybe my sphere grows, my family, etc. But I just wanted to celebrate the Happiness Summit and the intentionality around, what do I want to create in the world? What do I want to live in the world? Bringing that intentionality. So back to what makes the happiest people. I will tell you, based on 2,500 years of ancient wisdom and modern science, it's the exact same thing. And it is to express the best version of yourself moment to moment to moment to moment to moment. The proxy we use for this in ancient wisdom is a word called eudaimonia. It's eudaimon, literally translates as good soul. Eudaimonia. Positive psychology uses a modern translation of that word, to flourish. It's not like all feel-good happiness, but this deep sense of living in alignment with who you are at your best, how you want to show up in the world. They also give us an answer for how to do that. The ancient Greek word is arte. I've got it tattooed here on my forearm.
I like your visual. I like your visuals. It's like, let me show you. Right. So you're like a walking
founder
whiteboard.
got that tattooed, inspired by one of our community members, Brandon Guy, who was nicknamed La Piñata in the MLB because he got hit by more pitches for that appearance. Yes. The World Series announcers. So we've all got arte tattooed as a reminder. Eudaimonia via arte. Positive psychology says the same thing. Flourish by putting your virtues into action. All the ancient wisdom traditions agree on the virtues that are most important. I shared them earlier. Wisdom, self-mastery, courage, and love. They give them slightly different words, temperance or justice, but wisdom, self-mastery, courage, love. And when I say ancient wisdom traditions, I'm talking all the faith traditions, all the from Stoicism, Buddhism, Christianity, like all of these cultural institutions say, hey, you want to live a good life? You want to be happy in the deepest sense of the world? Live with wisdom, know the game that you're playing, live with self-mastery, actually play that game well today, have the discipline to show up, be able to step in between stimulus and response and not just respond, live with courage. I am willing to act in the presence of fear is a scientific definition of courage. And then love, I'm connected, I'm present, I'm encouraging, etc. Wisdom, self-mastery, courage, love. And then positive psychology added, these virtues are most highly correlated with well-being, hope, gratitude, curiosity, and zest. Zest is unequivocal number one, which is why energy is one of our big three: energy, work, and love. If you're not feeling energized, you're not going to be able to show up to your work. You're not going to be able to show up to your relationships. I'm a worse father. I'm a worse husband when I've only had 1 hour of sleep. I think it's insane and awesome that, like, when you most need your resources as a new parent, you don't have them because you're like, the baby is born, like, no sleep. Good luck being more emotionally triggered than you've ever been in your life and not having any sleep. But zest is unequivocal number one. Hope and gratitude, battle it out for number two. And then curiosity. I'm open to life and new perspectives. I see what's working and what needs work. To be happy, what we need to do is allow those virtues to guide our behaviors moment to moment to moment to moment to moment, so that we can show up as the best version of ourselves moment to moment to moment to moment to moment to moment. This is a process thing. It is not an outcome thing. We will never get there. The best version of yourself is an asymptote, because the moment you've reached it, by definition, it's not the best because you can still grow and therefore there's more available to you. So being willing to embrace this process and show up to life, show up to each moment, show up to each decision with this intention to try to do our best. And if we fall short, if we skin our knee, let me get back up. Let me give it another shot. Let me try again. Let me try to know the game I'm playing, what's in my control, what's not in my control, have the self-mastery to actually do it today, courage, love, etc. And I mentioned, I'm getting a big poster made, but we've got the app, we've got the compass in the app.
Yeah.
So wisdom, self-mastery,
Gotcha.
courage, love,
Yeah,
hope,
yeah.
gratitude, curiosity, zest.
Yeah.
We've got, you can scroll and get tools. So some inspiring, I've also got the compass as my phone back screen and the pieces. You've got tools for how to actually do that. So what does it mean to have curiosity? Well, run the needs work replay. Step 1, oops, make a mistake. Step 2, say needs work. Step 3, see a different outcome. Go back to the moment you made a mistake. See how you could have done better. Step 4, replay success. Replay that moment in your brain. So we've got hundreds of tools that help us to actually live with these virtues moment to moment to moment to moment to moment. That is the ancient wisdom and modern science shared upon agreed definition. I will add my own little personal definition of what is happiness. And I think that's being grateful for awareness, being grateful for consciousness, and using our gift of being here and present in this moment to try and make a positive contribution, to try and give back such that more awareness, more consciousness can be experienced in the future.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Well, hopefully you'll come on and enlighten us more at the global. I'm going to invite you right now to be a speaker at the Global Happiness Summit. I think that would be awesome. I've gotten energized just talking to you today. It's like drinking from a fire hose in a good way. It's like drinking from a fire hose of positivity. So I will take it today. So I appreciate that.
Thanks, man. Yeah, and I'm assuming no schedule conflicts. Absolutely, I'm there. I'd be honored.
Perfect. And then for people to actually download the app, they just is it heroic.us.us?
Yep, heroic.us.
Yeah.
Again, it's not such and such name.com. This is about all of us together, a community. It's a movement. So heroic.us. You can search iOS for Heroic. The Android, I don't know when this will be released. Android is dropping by mid-June.
Okay.
So if you're on Android, you have to wait a moment. We just are starting to test it. And then the social components drop in October. But I've got it. I mentioned my daughter a lot. She's using it to hit her targets. She's showing up. Her work targets are like color, read a story, practice, write. Like she's 3, these are
right. Yeah, of course.
But that's how she's excited. She's excited to hit those every day. So heroic.us is the place to go. You can get access to the free resources too. Almost every single thing I've said, it comes from that free content. So you can go deeper with a philosopher's note, with a +1, with the 101 class, including the Mr. Rogers.
Oh, I love
Swimming with Mr. Rogers, 143. I love you. We got a couple notes on some of his, I think we got like 3 or 4 of Mr. Rogers' books.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Very awesome. Well, we look forward to visiting with you more. And as things evolve and as things move forward, we'd love to have you just come back on this show. But then, like I said, certainly, we'll have about 50,000 people at the Global Happiness Virtual Summit. And so we'd love to have you come share some of your insight, knowledge, and research with that group of people as well. So thank you for coming on today.
Yeah, thank you. Would love to. And anyone who, like, a genuine appreciation, anyone who gets to the end of a podcast, like, it's a not insignificant commitment of time and attention. So I want to say thank you for hanging out with us.
Yes, definitely.
If you have made it this far, thank you so much that we got to hang out for the past, I don't know, 2x speed. I'm a 2x speed listener, but don't tell anyone, like, depending on how much time.
23 minutes, 24 minutes if they're listening on 2x, right?
So thank you. And thanks again, Matt. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being a part of the BriteVibe podcast. For more information, go to britevibe.com. That's BRITE Vibe, VIBE.com. Thank you for listening.